Wonderful. Thank you, Craig, for that introduction, and thank you, Cheryl, for that fantastic presentation there. So we're here to talk to you about growing global and growAG. So for those of you that don't know, growAG is our global innovation network platform, and that growAG launched in April 2021 and was born out of a partnership with the Department of Agriculture, Forestries and Fisheries, and the 14 other rural and research and development corporations. It's an innovation platform that highlights all of the research projects and commercialization opportunities from the RDCs and across Australia. For example, as we just heard, Dr. Cheryl there shared her insight and her experience with the platform, and that was one of the early commercialization opportunities that was successful on that platform. So since its launch in April 2021, it's grown, which is great, and we have over 3,000 research projects and have listed over 400 organizational profiles, of which 60 come from overseas. And we've also got, as of today, 126 live opportunities on the platform, of which 20% of these actually come from overseas. Each month, we attract almost 10,000 users, of which 50% are coming from overseas. So that's markets such as Singapore, UK, NZ, and the US. And that's resulted in us really growing those number of opportunities that we've got on the platform and organizational profiles. So that leads us to this panel. So we know that we have, or as you can see today, we've got a thriving Australian ecosystem. But we know that we can't do this alone, and we know that there's tremendous opportunity in partnering and collaborating globally. And we see growAG.com playing a unique role in that. So that leads me to introducing our guests on the panel. So we've got Rebecca Robinson. So Rebecca is President and CEO of Kansas State Innovation Partners and oversees K-State's robust innovation ecosystem, technology, corporate engagement, and economic development. And then we'd like to introduce Peter. So Peter Wren-Hilton is somewhat I consider a global citizen, so an all-round agri-food guru. So he's the founder of Agritech New Zealand, co-founder and CEO of Wharf 42, and a director of Platform 10. On top of that, he can also add advisor and investor to his CV. So Rebecca, I'd like to ask my first question to you. So you were here you were in Adelaide 12 months ago at AgriFutures, and this is when you first came across the growAG platform. Yeah. Could you tell us what has happened in the past 12 months from attending AgriFutures to having both K-State Innovation Partners and commercial opportunities on the platform?
Absolutely. Thanks, Harriet. So a year ago, I was sitting in a very similar room to this and heard about growAG and thought it was a quite interesting platform. And it was after that we met with the AgriFutures and growAG team and learned about not only the capabilities of the platform, but also about the horsepower behind it, the people, and the ability to leverage the network to collaborate with the Australian ecosystem. We have a long history of collaborating with Australia, between particularly the state of Kansas in the US and Kansas State University. And so over the last 12 months, we began to leverage the platform and the team to make ourselves more known to potential partners, both for research collaboration, as well as for companies both in the US, in our market, as well as companies in the Australian and New Zealand markets, to be able to, and more globally, to look at us as a potential partner, both to solve agricultural challenges as well as really create a robust innovation ecosystem globally. So from there, it all happens, of course, online, but in addition, we were pleased to host the growAG Innovation Immersion Tour in Kansas last summer. So we had a couple of dozen growers actually come across the pond to Kansas, and we're happy to host them, introduce them to growers in the United States and our stakeholders as well. So not just a virtual platform, but very much here and across the globe.
No, that's fantastic. I think, as you said, it's not just an innovation platform. We like to call it, we have SaaS, but we also have growAG as a service. So.
Absolutely.
And Peter, your experience is a little bit longer, isn't it? Would you like to we consider you a growAG OG as part of our original steering committee. So could you share your experiences from being a steering committee member through to today?
Yeah, absolutely. Very happy to do that. And I've been very privileged, particularly since I'm based most of the time on the other side of the Tasman, to have sat on both the Evoke steering committee from day one and the inaugural growAG steering committee. And just a little bit of history as to what happened pre-2021 when growAG was launched. The background and purpose was because the then Minister of Agriculture here in Australia, David Littleproud, said he wanted to see a little bit more transparency with how federal taxes were being spent in terms of supporting the match funding for research and development corporations, RDCs. And so AgriFutures Australia was tasked to build growAG. And what's really impressed me is how, rather than just providing this as an opportunity for people to see how the money has been spent, it's the way that it's been converted into just such an amazing channel to provide insights into Australian research, also Australian research from an investment and also from a commercialization aspect. And I was speaking to my own team in New Zealand last week and learned that Plant and Food Research, which is New Zealand's largest Crown Research Institute, intend this year to start placing their research opportunities onto growAG, which I think defines really how, although it might have been started off initially as a kind of purely Australian-focused initiative, is now developing more of a global lens. And from my perspective, coming from New Zealand, it's great to see New Zealand research organizations and companies becoming part of that. And I know we'll come on to the global side in a minute, but I do really believe, having traveled the world quite frequently, that it has increased the visibility of Australia's wider agri-tech ecosystem exponentially in the last 3 years.
No, it's fantastic to get credit for that value of that research that comes through not only our universities, but also the research and development corporations. So, Rebecca, we're not exactly the most convenient partner. There is definitely, I think, some would consider a tyranny of distance, but
Sure.
What makes Australia attractive from a K-State perspective and kind of US point of view?
Yeah, it's certainly not the ease to access. As I just got here 24 hours ago, so I think it's about 1:30 in the morning, or at least my body thinks it is. So, and of course, time zones and things like that in terms of trying to have conversations and collaborations is always a challenge. But one of the things that, as we looked in our own efforts across the globe at what markets made sense to partner with, both culturally, both in terms of innovation capacity and a willingness to partner, and also just the vibrancy of a place and really where we could have mutual benefit, we immediately gravitated to the Australian market, and particularly the agricultural market, because there was so many shared challenges as we're looking at from things like biosecurity and biodefense to how we handle changing climates and increasing productivity and profitability for our state, for our country, and particularly for our growers, that this market and really the interest in partnering was there. And so growAG and the Australian market is and continues to be not only one we were interested in, but one that's been extremely productive to partner with.
That's excellent. And Peter, I think a similar question, but interested to get your view in, is there power in Team ANZ as opposed to, kind of just Australia or NZ on our own? What's been your experience in terms of your interactions?
Well, I certainly believe that Team NZ have a role to play, but you mentioned my previous life when I was the founder of Agritech New Zealand. I was also the co-founder of the Australian New Zealand Agritech Council. And when I travel, and just before Christmas, I got a gift from Air New Zealand. That's not good news, by the way. If you get a Christmas present from Air New Zealand, it made me check just how much I'd spent last year. But I sat down with my wife and realized I'd spent just over 6 months offshore. A lot of that time was in Europe and North America. And when I'm offshore, I tend to speak with a Trans-Tasman hat, because when I speak to investors in London, Paris, New York, San Francisco, to get them to come down to either New Zealand or Australia is a bit of an ask. So I basically sell the region as kind of a trans-Tasman opportunity, and I've been doing that for some time. And interestingly, I've got a couple of guests who I brought over from California for this event. They were in New Zealand last week and Australia this week. It's their first ever visit. Dennis Donahoe is the director of the Western Growers Innovation and Technology Centre. Gina Cadbury is the director of science for climate and environment. And just to put that into context, Western Growers members produce over 50% of all fresh produce in North America. That's over 50% of all vegetables, fruit, nuts, organics. And one of the reasons they came down here wasn't purely because of the visibility of growAG, but growAG and the other bits of the ecosystem that are building around it demonstrated there was value to come down to this part of the world to see just what we are up to. So I think that, for me, was a really good demonstration of how we can attract global investors, global partners, and global researchers down to Australia and New Zealand, because together we make a very formidable trans-Tasman force.
Indeed. Now, we touched on this before, but growAG's not just a digital platform, and behind that platform, we're really fortunate to have a wonderful concierge team who support the connections that are made. So to date, we've had over 200 early stage discussions, 66 negotiations, and 21 deals. And I would caveat with that being the ones that we know about. We're always looking for more. But quickly, I'm conscious we're coming towards the end, but we've got over 21 countries here today in terms of international delegates. What advice or what would you recommend for these international delegates in the room? What could they get from engaging from growAG?
Well, I'll kick it off, Harriet. I think one of the things that was really helpful as we went through the process of putting things on the platform was support from your team in really helping us to hone the opportunity to ensure, one, that it was going to be mutually beneficial, but also that it was clear enough to get the right partners, and then, rewriting it in some cases, or trimming it down, making it smaller or more direct to the right kinds of partner and the right kind of opportunity. And then what I've appreciated, so as soon as we posted things, I'm amazed by how many posts you say there are, opportunities, because it still felt like everything that we were posting had extremely high visibility to the ecosystem. And then in addition, there was this concierge service that was a one-to-one connection for the right kinds of people in the ecosystem. So it sort of felt like, okay, an audience or a conference of 2,000 people is a bit overwhelming, and how do I make sure that I find the probably half a dozen people that can actually engage with that opportunity? There was a much more directed opportunity so that I have specific meetings when I come here. So that's been incredibly invaluable.
Peter, same question to you.
Yeah, same question. So look, I think the first thing that AgriFutures have done very well is to promote growAG. I would like to see more international promotion of growAG. I see a lot of people around the room now with their laptops open and their kind of mobile phones there. I say to people when I see them, just go to growag.com. That's the first and most simple. And again, another related story to a US guest who I know is here today. Pam Morone, who I call the doyenne of biologicals, is actually speaking here tomorrow, but she became aware of growAG really for the first time yesterday. She opened up the homepage and typed in a couple of kind of biological terms to search for, and was amazed at just how much research is taking place across a range of not just RDCs now, but other research organizations. And she said for her it was almost one of a kind. She hadn't seen that type of platform before. And I think that's what makes growAG really quite unique. I do travel the world, and I haven't seen a very similar platform at all. And finally, the concierge element is really important. That makes it truly unique. It's not just a Google search engine. It goes way beyond that. And I think from that perspective, offers users real value.
Yeah. And I would point out, completely free to use. So
yeah, amazing.
In terms of content generation, kind of from all aspects of the platform. So thank you both. Thank you for joining us and sharing your experience. To everyone in the audience, where we should have a QR code that's about to pop up. Last week, we were really excited to launch our user portal on the growAG website. That enables you to save and create a profile to save down those latest opportunities, enables you to set your preferences and receive reminders of when opportunities are closing or when new ones pop up that may be of interest of you. And that will enable you to see, the best research both here in Australia and, as we've heard before, some of that coming through globally as well. I would also say that of the 126 opportunities that we've got over 20 of those opportunities live here in person. So either the startups, the universities, research organisations, RDCs, they are in here. So we do reach out. We encourage you to reach out. And then finally, make sure you visit the growAG stand down in the exchange, where we do actually have our concierge team who can facilitate some live connections in person. So thank you both, and please make sure you check out growAG.
Thank you.
Thank you.